In high school, my summer job was being a literal gatekeeper, or I guess a toll person, but we referred to these places as gates. So for 8 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week, I sat in a tiny little house in the middle of the highway, and cars came up and gave me money, and I gave them permission to continue down the road. And this was an amazing summer job, or at least I thought so. I mean, other people my age were burning themselves in oil flipping burgers at bad fast food restaurants, or shoveling animal poop in the heat all day, or, retail, which usually involves standing on very hard floors and getting yelled at by recalcitrant old women. No, I had a chair, and a bathroom I could use whenever I wanted, and air conditioning that mostly worked. And if there wasn't anyone on the road, I didn't really have to do anything in particular. I was all alone, rarely checked on by my manager. I could read or do university pre-classes online or practice a foreign language or something. As long as I looked sharp when someone did come up, I was golden. And there usually weren't so many people. It wasn't a very well-frequented highway. Some days these good things showed their sour side. Being all alone with nothing to do and no one to talk to, being limited for hours to a very small physical space. That's the kind of thing that puts stress on our social animal brains, As a behavior, I think it's almost unnatural. It can put you in a weird state of mind. Makes you overly susceptible, maybe. Makes your reality a little soft, easier to break through. And there was a problem with the plumbing in the gate. Nothing serious, nothing that caused it to malfunction, but the pipes behind the toilet would make a kind of clunking noise sometimes, and it really uncannily sounded like someone opening a door and taking a step inside. A sound like a doorknob turning, and then a door pushed open, and then a single heavy foot on the threshold. This, again, was the sound the pipes made from behind the toilet. And there was no door in the back of the bathroom, right? No door that led outside. Only the door that I used to go into the toilet from behind my desk. The actual entrance to the gate was on another wall entirely. But that sound, it was extraordinary. The pipes would make that sound, and every time, even after months of working there, I would hear it and believe, for a second, or even just a fraction of a second, that it was the sound of someone coming inside. That all of a sudden, I wasn't alone in the gate anymore. There was a day in August that was exceptionally hot, during one of those weeks when the whole country was boiling and there were reports of old people in Toronto dying in their apartments, stuff like that. I was working in the gate, and I had a bit of a fever, I wasn't well. I had that hypersensitivity where everything hurt a little to touch, and I felt dizzy, even when I had enough air. And practically no one came through the gate that day. The highway was abandoned. I'd brought a book with me, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which is a great little horror story I recommend. The kind of horror story that's about nightmares, rather than any concrete danger or threat, which I always think is good. And since the day was so empty, I managed to read the whole thing during my shift and still have an hour left over. So you know that feeling when you get up and look around after reading fiction for a long time? I hope you do. It's almost like there's a cloud over the world, like you've stepped sideways somehow into an adjacent plane of reality. You recognize things, but everything's a bit different, maybe a bit heavier. Your brain is trying to figure out if what before you is real, or if it's a dream, if it's the world from the novel you just left. I finished The Haunting of Hill House and was feeling like this, sitting alone, in the heat, feverish, watching the pavement ripple, and someone opened the door in the bathroom and stepped inside with me. And I swear that was the closest to insane I've ever felt. It's hard to explain now, but it was like everything melted. The walls, the desk, the pencils, time, and expectation. Everything I had depended on, had been taught was firm and unchanging. It all turned into tissue paper. I could have shredded it with my fingernails. In dreams, sleeping dreams, I often become unmoored. I believe myself to be other people, or no one in particular at all. And here for the first time I had that feeling while awake, completely divorced from myself, Not just my body, but my personality, my entire self-concept. And ever since then, I have found myself very near to another kingdom. Between it and me hangs only a thin veil. And though I can never quite manage to draw it aside, you see, sometimes the wind makes it flutter.